Hello, everybody. I'm jumping back into the group to answer a question for Cheryl that she sent to me on Messenger. And the question is about emotions. And here's what I want everyone to know, and this is why I wanted to do a video instead of responding to her question on Messenger, is that most of us lose the ability to relate to recognize emotions and handle emotions, have the ability to work through our emotions. Most of us lose that ability as children. I certainly lost the ability. And one of the things that I realized when I found Law of Attraction was that when Abraham used to say, feel, I couldn't feel anything. And I couldn't feel anything because for a very long time, I had suppressed my emotions. I had pushed my emotions down for many reasons. One reason for pushing my emotions down was that I didn't have the ability to work through them. I didn't know how to do a 4-step process. The 4-step process helps us to work through our emotions. I didn't know how to do that. Number 2, I was afraid of working through my emotions or touching my emotions because I thought if I go there that my emotions are going to blow up. Again, that was a control thing. I didn't know how to control my emotions, so it was better not to feel them. Because if I end up having a blow up, then what are other people going to think about me? That is so inappropriate. I cannot do that. And again, it was a reflection of my own inability to handle my emotions. The result of this is that nothing made me feel very happy and nothing made me feel very sad. And that was the other thing, is that I could not allow myself to go down so far that I would go into depression, but I had children, so I had to come back out of depression. A lot of times people go down and then don't have the ability to come back out. You've got to have a reason. You've got to have a new goal that makes you come out, which is what I was trying to explain to Christina, is that, Christina, you need a new goal in life, something that makes you move forward. And we need to verbalize that goal. So I had my children. I had to get out of bed. I had to do things in order to look after my children. But a result of pushing all of that down so that I can function because of my children, a result of that was that I never worked on my emotions. I just pushed them down and put the lid on top and hoped that they would go away. And they did go away because I was able to function from one day to the next, but they were still sitting in my belly. And that was preventing me from actually feeling happy. I could not feel happy because there was gunk that was sitting in my belly that I had not looked after. So this is the thing that Law of Attraction does for us. And the thing that Law of Attraction does for us is that it brings there are 3 main ways to deal with emotions. There are 3 main knowledge bases that we can use in order to deal with our emotions. The very first one is spirituality. And in spirituality, we find a way to get to a place of trust. And then we use that in order to work on our emotions. The second is psychology. Psychology deals with beliefs, and there has been so much research, and the reason there's so much research is required is because people are different. And what one thing works for one person doesn't really work for another person, which is why you find that there are so many schools of psychological thought and analysis and studies and techniques to help people improve, because no one thing will work for everyone across the board. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is science. Because when we can prove something using science, then all the doubts fall away. So the beautiful thing, and we are calling it law of attraction today, is because we now understand that all of these 3 ways of dealing with emotions come together in what we call law of attraction. If you go solely spiritual, you will find a way to be happy. But it will not help you answer some questions that we ask. Those of us who are thinkers and analytical, we ask questions about why things happen the way they do. And spirituality gives us a plication. It does not answer the question. It circles around it. Oh, God willed it. That's why it happened. No, I'm not satisfied with that answer. I'm very sorry, but I'm not satisfied with that answer, because what sort of a God is a loving God and a vengeful God? What sort of a God is God loves you and God will punish you in the hellfires? Like, what is God is schizophrenic? Like, how can the same God behave in these 2 very divergent ways? So spirituality circles around that and doesn't really get to it. So this is why a lot of us cannot find the answers that we need in order to get rid of our doubts and our fears and all the questions that we have. Spirituality does not answer all those questions. Now let's take therapy. Therapy also does not answer all the questions, and a lot of times it is because therapists become expert in a technique, in a way that they learn because of who they are and their own life experience. They learn to lean on specific therapeutic methods, and they just use those methods. But what if you are someone for whom that method does not work? And so therapy often tries to attempt to solve everyone's problems the same way, depending on who the therapist is, right? And so that also doesn't work, because it's not cookie cutter. Everybody's journey in life is different, and everyone's belief systems are different, and everybody needs a different answer and a different solution, which is why I keep asking people to ask questions, because it's not about the answer that someone else got that solved their problem, because the answer that someone else got was designed for that person. Your answer does not have to be the same. Your answer might require some different elements. And so, and then psychology continues, because here's the thing, anything can be proven right or proven wrong. And so psychology, because it depends on who is asking the question and how are they doing their research, because law of attraction will give you whatever you are asking for, depending on how you're asking it. And so if you're pushing against something, you will get it. And if you are for something, you will get it. And this is what confuses things, because they keep fighting amongst each other, trying to prove each other right or wrong. But the same thing doesn't work for everyone across the board. And you can find proof for anything, because you can talk your way into and you can talk your way out of whatever you want. So this is why, yes, we do so much, everything that we do falls into the psychology compartment because we work with people's beliefs in law of attraction and their life journey. And so everything that is psychology is part of law of attraction. And lastly, science, the understanding of basic physics. You don't even have to go to quantum physics. Just the understanding of basic physics gives us the information that we need in order to understand energy, because all of law of attraction is about energy. You are energy. I am energy. My body is made up of energy. Everything is energy. So understanding science is also part of the mix. Understanding, for example, that anything that we manifest from the non-physical realm, and then when we make our transition into the death or croaking experience, we move back into non-physical. Science explains that. There are so many things in science that help us to understand that, because just something as simple as water changes its state. Water can become a solid, and it can become non-physical water vapor. So science, definitely an understanding, a basic understanding of physics and chemistry is so helpful in understanding the scientific aspect of what law of attraction is. And long ago, when I did my research about law of attraction, came to the conclusion that it combines these three things. Law of attraction combines science with the psychology with spirituality. Here's where it answers the question, how will I start feeling? And it is a process. And I remember that when the main thing that happened that jolted my awareness was the fact that my mother, who was the most dear, most important person in my life, she made her transition, and I could not bring myself to cry. She was the most important person in my life, and I could not cry. And I questioned myself. I said, Zara, why are you, this is so big for you. This is so important. You're not able to cry about this. Something is wrong with your emotional system, your ability to feel emotion. And so here's what I did that really helped me. So these three people, spirituality, psychology, science, they all rely on thought. And I realized that being an analyst, I relied on thought. I always ask myself the question, well, Zara, what do you think about what that person said? What do you think about that event that just happened in your life? Or what do you think about that world event that just happened? So as a result of the way my question was worded, what do you think about this? I was not going to a feeling place. I was never asking myself to feel anything. I was always asking myself only to think. How can I solve this problem with thinking? How can I come up with a solution based on thinking? What does that person think? What do I think? My whole life revolved around logic. So I was never asking myself to feel. How can you use your emotional guidance system if you never ask yourself to feel? So I stopped when that realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I stopped and I changed the question, and I started asking myself a very different question. And the question was, Zara, how do you feel about this person? How do you feel about what this person just said to you? How do you feel about this thing that just happened to you? How do you feel about what's happening in the world? How do you feel? about how you behaved? How do you feel about how other people behave? How do you feel about this food that you're eating? How do you feel about the work that you do? How do you feel about living in this house? How do you feel about living in this body? I changed the question, and then the answers changed. They were completely different answers. And in the beginning, the answer was, I don't feel anything. But with time, as I continued to ask the question, I started using the emotional guidance system. It had become dormant because of misuse. Like the car, if you don't drive a car, like we have -20 temperature going on just now. If I don't drive my car battery will die. It will need to be revived. And so my emotional guidance system had become dormant, and I revived it by asking myself the question repeatedly, how do I feel? And once my emotional guidance system woke up, now I ask both the questions. Zara, how do you think and feel? What do you think and how do you feel? Because this is very valuable information, because I can feel the feeling that I'm feeling and then ask myself, do I want to continue feeling this way? And the answer is, if I'm low on the emotional scale, absolutely not. I do not wish to continue feeling the way I'm feeling. So what thought am I going to think so that I can change the way that I'm feeling? And now thought and emotion play together. Thought and emotion, thought and emotion, thought and emotion. Chicken and egg. We need them both. Thoughts are a tool that help us regulate our emotion. But we've got to understand how emotion works first. Because when we start understanding the importance of emotional regulation and how that plays into manifesting, now we are powerful. Now we have true creative power. So I'm going to stop here. I hope that this makes sense and is really helpful, not just to you, Cheryl, but to everyone. And I love you all, and thank you for asking this beautiful question. Bye for now.